Good afternoon, everyone. We will get started in just a few minutes. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Candlelight Vigil, hosted by the Tigray Communities Forum North America and the Tegaru Professionals Network. We thank you all for being present today. My name is Mcbride. I am with the Tegaru Professionals Network based in Atlanta, Georgia, and we welcome you in joining us today. Before we get started, I just want to share a couple items. Today's program will have several speakers. We'll have quite a few speakers who will talk about this Candlelight Vigil and what's going on back home in Tigray. The program will be in both English and Tigrinya, so there'll be a mix of both. We will have a slideshow presentation to honor all of those who we have lost in the war in Tigray. We will also have a moment of silence, and during that time is when we will ask you to light your candles. And we'll advise you beforehand so that we can have our candles ready. And then we will have a call to action, and we will close out our Candlelight Vigil for today. As everyone knows, the war on Tigray has been going on for over 55 days. It's been extremely difficult. It's been extremely saddening and disgusting what's happening back home. Today, we want to bring awareness to what is happening, and especially to all of those lives that have been lost in this senseless war. With over 55 days since the war was waged on November 4th, there still has been no communication, no electricity, no water, no food. Resources are available, but aid has been restricted. There are over hundreds of thousands of people who are being affected by this war on Tigray. We have so many brothers and sisters who have fled to Sudan and are still experiencing dire situations there. And today we want to make sure that the international community knows that it's time to act. We've been very delayed in acting with what's going on back home in Tigray. And 55 days is far too long for any access, for any of us to have any contact with family. I still haven't been able to get a hold of any family where my folks are from in Abiadi. So today we will honor those that are lost. This is not a all-inclusive list, because there are more names that we just aren't aware of yet. And there are more individuals whose lives will be lost over the coming days, but we want to recognize and honor those today. I'd like to start us off with our first speaker, who will open us up in prayer and some remarks. Mumher Takesta.
በስመ አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ አሜን። ይስማዕ ኣለዶ?
እወ።
እሺ እሞ ጸሎት ክንገብር ንቐደም። እሺ ንጸሎት ንዳሎ። በስመ አብ ወወልድ ወመንፈስ ቅዱስ አሐዱ አምላክ አሜን። በሓደ አምላክ በአብ በወልድ በመንፈስ ቅዱስ ስም በቅዱስ ሥላሴ እናመንኩና ተማሕፀንኩና ቅድመ ኣደይ ዝኾነት ቅዱስ ቤተክርስትያን ሰይጣን ካሕደርካ ኣለኹ። ንሰውን ናይ ዘላለም ፀግዐይ ምስካየን ዝኾነት ድንግል ማርያም እያ። ኦ ጎይታ ነመስግነካ ነኽብረካ ንለና። ኦ ጎይታ ንባርኸካ ንልምነካ ንለና። ኦ ጎይታ ንልምነካ ንማልደካ ንለና። ኦ ጎይታ ንግልገለካ ቅዱስ ስምካ እውን ኣገልግል ኣለና። ኦ ጎይታ ኩሉ ብርኪ ዝሰግደልካ ንሰግደልካ ኣለና። ኩሉ ደስታ ንዓኻ ይግዛእ። ኣምላኽ ኣማልኽቲ ጎይታ ጎይቶትን ንጉስ ነገስታትን ንስኻ ኢኻ። ንኩሉ ስጋ ንኩሉ ነፍስን ፈጣሪ ንስኻ ኢኻ። ቅዱስ ወድኻ ንስኻትኩም ምስ ክትጸልዩ ከለኹም ከምዚ ይበሉ ኢሉ ከም ዝመሃረና ጽውዐካ ኣለና። ጎይታና ኣምላኽና መድሓኒትና ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ነዛ መዓልቲ እዚኣ ኣብ ዕድሜና ወሲካ ስለ ዝሃብከና ነኽብረካ ነመስግነካ። እግዚኣብሔር ኣምላኽና ናይ ሰማይን ናይ ምድርን ፈጣሪ ንስኻ ኢኻ። ናይ ህይወት ነፍሳት ናይ ደቂ ሰባት ኩሉ ፍጥረት ፈጣሪ ናይ ፍጥረታት ኩሉ ፈጣሪ ንስኻ ኢኻ። ኣምላኽና እግዚኣብሔር ኣብ ፍጥረትካ ኣብ ደቅኻ ኣብ ምእመናንካ ዝግበር ዘሎ ግፍዕን በደልን ትምልከተልና። ብዓይነ ምሕረትካ እውን ክትሪአና ፍቓድካ ክነልና። እግዚኣብሔር ኣምላኽና ብግፍዕ ምክንያት ብዘይ ሓጢኣቶም ብዘይ በደሎም ብግፍዕ ዝተቐተሉ ኣዴታትና ኣቦታትና ኣሓትናን ኣሕዋትናን ህፃናት እውን كلهم نفسهم أبراهام أبي إسحاق أبي يعقوب بخبره تعرفون فقد كفلنا እግዚአብሔር ኣምላኽና ምስቶም ዝተሰደዱ እውን ሓቢርካ ከምፅኦም ክትከውን ኣብ ፀገሞም ክትሕግዞም ኣብ ሕማሞም ክትረድኦም እውን ፈቃድካ ይኹነልና ኣብ ፀበባን ኣብ ጭቅን ኣብ መከራን ኣብ ፍርሕን ዘለዎ ወገናታትና ኣብ ኩናት ኣብ ድንበር ኣብ ስደት ተቆልዑ ኣብ ኩሉ ዝተሰደዱ ወገናታትና ኩሉ ኣምላኽና እግዚአብሔር ናትካ ምሕረት ናትካ ይቕረታ ዝፅበዩ ዘለዉ ኩሎም ክትሕግዞም ክትባርኾም እውን ፈቃድካ ይኹነልና ኣምላኽና እግዚአብሔር ዝሕማቅ ግዜ ዝትሕፅረልና ፈቃድካ ይኹን ነዚ ድማ ከምዚ ክንብል ቅዱስ ስምካና ንፅልይ ኣለና ኣብ ሰማያት እትነብር ኣቦና ስምካ ይቀደስ መንግስትካ ትምፃእ ፈቃድካ ከምቲ ኣብ ሰማይ ከምኡ ድማ ኣብ ምድሪ ትኹን ናይ ዕለት ምግብና ሎሚ ሃበና ንሕና ዝበደሉና በደሎም ከም ዝሓደግናሎም በደልና ሓደገልና ካብ ክፉ ኣድሕነና እምበር ኣብ ፈተና ይተእትወና መንግስትን ሓይልን ክብርን ንዘለኣለም ናትካ እዩ ኣሜን ኦ እግዝእትነ ማርያም ናይ ቅዱስ ገብርኤል መልኣክ ሰላምታ ሰላም ይብለክ ኣለኹ ብሓሳብ ክድንግል ይኹን ብስጋኹ እውን ድንግል ይኹን ናይ ጎይታ ሰራዊት ናይ እግዚአብሔር ኣደ ሰላምታ ንዓኺ ይኹን ካብ ኣንስቲ ብርክቲ ንስኺ ኢኺ ናይ ክርስቶስ ፍረ እውን ብሩኽ እዩ ጸጋ ዝመልአኪ ፍስሓ ተፈሲ እግዚአብሔር ምሳኺ እዩ ኣብ ፍቅር ወልድኹ ጎይታና ኢየሱስ ክርስቶስ ምሕረት ክልምነልና ሓጢአትናና እውን ይቕረ ክብለልና ምእንቲ ንዘለኣለሙ ኣሜን ምስጋና ይኹን ሓደ ኣምላኽ ንዝኾነና ኣብ ንወልድ ንመንፈስ ቅዱስ ሎምን ፅባሕ ንዘለኣለሙ ኣሜን
ኣሜን
እሞ ሓንቲ ቁሩብ ደቂቃታት ሓደ ክልተ ደቂቃ ይህልወኒ ይኸውን እዩ ቃል ኣምላኽ ከፍለኩም ዝኸበርኩም ውሉድ ኣምላኽ ኣብ መላእ ዓለም ትርከቡ ናይ ዝመርሓ ግብሪ እዚ ትሳተፉ ዘለኹም በብገዝኹም በቢ ዘለኹም ኮይንኩም ትከታተሉ ዘለኹም ሰላም እግዚአብሔር ምስ ኩላትኩም ይኹን በረከተ ቅዱሳን በረከተ ቦታትና ቅዱሳን ይብፃሕኩም እግዚአብሔር ኣምላኽና ድማ ካብዚ ሕዚ ንእናዮ ፀበባን ጭንቀትን መከራን እግዚአብሔር ከናግፈና ፈቃዱ ይኹነልና ቅዱስ ዳዊት ኣብ መዝሙር 23 ቁጥሪ 4 ከምዚ ይብል ማለት እዩ እመን ይሆርኩ ማእከል ጽላሎት ሞት ይፈርህ ለኩይ ታይ ማለት እዩ በማእከል ጽላሎት ሞት እንኳ እንተኸድኩ ንስኻ መሳይኻሞ ነትክፉ ኣይፈርሕኒ በትርኻን ምርኩዝካን ንሳተን የጽናዕናዕኒ እየን ይብል ኣብዚ ሰዓት እዚ ከምቲ ኩላትና ንፈልጦ መብርሂት እውን ኣብቲ መእተዊ ከም ዝገለጸቶ ኣብ ልዕሊ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ፍትሓዊ ዘይኮነ ኩናት ካብ ዝእወጅ ዳርጋ ናብ ክልተ ኣዋርሕ ተጸጊዑ ኣሎ እሞ ብጣዕሚ ብዘሕዝን ኩነታት ኣብ ዓለም ተርእዩ ብዘይፈልጥ ጭካንን ግፍዕን በቲ መንግስቲ ይኹን በቶም ሰራዊት ኣብ ምድሪ ዘለዉ ኣብ ትግራይ ኣትዮም ዘለዉ ይኹን ብሰማይን ብምድርን ብጣዕሚ ግፍዕታት ይፍጸሙ ከም ዘሎ ኩላትና ንፈልጦ ነገር እዩ ዓለም እውን ዝዘራረበሉ ዘሎ ነገር እዩ ግን መፍትሒ ድማ ስራሕ ዘይተረኸበን ካብ ባዕሉ ካብ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ካልኣይ ድማ ካብ ፈጣሪ እግዚአብሔር ዝመጽእ እምበር ምናልባት ሰባት ኩሎም ዝጨከንሉ ግዜ ኢና ንርኢ ዘለና ደቂ ሰባት ብዘይ ምግቢ ንኽል ሙሉእ መንገዲ ተዓፅዩ ኩሉ ነገር ተዓፅዩ ከመይ ገይሮም ክነብሩ ከም ዘለዉ ብጣዕሚ ዝገርም ነገር እዩና እግዚአብሔር ሓይሊ ሂብዎም እዩ እምበር ነንዶ ክልተ ወርሒ ሙሉእ ክልተ መዓልቲ እውን ብዘይ ምግቢ ብዘይ መስተ ብዘይ ሕክምና ክንበር ዘይከኣለሉ ኩነታት እዩ ዘሎና ስለዚ እግዚአብሔር ክሕግዘና እዩ ኣብ መከራ ኢና ዘለና ኣብ መከራን ኣብ ጽላሎት ሞትን ኣብ ህይወትን ኣብ ሞትን ኩነታት ኢና ዘለና እዚ ንገብሮ ዘለና እቲ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ዝገብሮ ዘሎ ቃልሲ ድማ ናይ ምንባርን ናይ ዘይምንባርን ኩነታት ዝጋጠሞ እዩ ኣነ ግርም ዝብለኒ ጆርጅ ፍሎይድ ተገበረ ብፖሊስ ተገበረ ግፍዒ ኩላትና ሕዚኑና ዓለም ሙሉእ ዘራሪቡ ኣብቶም ዓዲ ዘለዉ ተይቀረየ ኢትዮጵያ እውን ዘለዉ ተይቀረየ ብዛዕባኡ መስካሕክሒ ቅልትለት ከም ዝኾነ ይርእዩ ነይሮም ኣነ ግን ኣብ ልዕሊ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ካብ ጆርጅ ፍሎይድ ንላዕሊ ዝግበር ዘሎ ተገበረ ግፍዒ ንላዕሊ እዩ ኢለ ኣነ ዝሪኦ ኣብ ልዕሊ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ኣብ ሂወቱ ኣብ ክሳዱ ረጊፆም ከይትንፍስ ከይበልዕ ከይሰቲ ከይሕከም ኣብ ሕማሙን ኣብ ፀገሙን ብዙሕ ኩነታት ተፈጢሩ ከም ዘሎ ኢና ንሪኦ ዘለና እዚ ኩሉ ግፍዒ ግን ከም ህዝቢ ክግበር ተሎ ሰባት ጨኪኖም እስካዕ ከምዚ መኻዶም ብጣዕሚ መደነቕ እዩ እና ዝኾነ ኮይኑ ከየብዝሐልኩም እዚ ግዜ እዚ ክንሓልፎ ኢና እዚ ግዜ እዚ ክንሓልፎ ኢና ብፀሎትን ብቃልስን ክንሓልፎ ኢና ህዝቢ ትግራይ ክሓልፎ እዩ መስዋዕትነት ኦፍ ኮርስ ንኸፈል ኣለና ኢና ዋጋ ንኸፈል ኣለና ኢና ክሞቱ ዘይግብኦም ዕንቁታት ዝኾኑ ወርቅታት ዝኾኑ መናእሰያት ንስእን ኣለና ኢና ብዙሕ ዋጋ ይኽፈለሉ እዩ ካብ ምድሪ እውን ብሓዊ ትልብለብ ከም ዘለዎ ቦታትን ኬሚካል ከም ዘለዎ ፍልጥ እዩ እዚ ኩሉ ኮይኑ ግን ክሓልፍ እዩ ዘይሓልፍ ነገር የለን ኣብ ዘለና ግበአና ሒዝናዮ ዝጀሚርናዮ ዘለና እንታይ ዝተሰከፈስ ብምንም ብካሊእ ነገር ዝኸውን ነገር ስለዘየለ ስለዚ እግዚአብሔር ምሳና እዩ ሓደ ሰባት ንምንታይ እዩ እግዚአብሔር እንድሕር ምሳና ኮይኑ ዝኩሉ በደል ክበፅሐና እንተሎ እግዚአብሔር ምሳና እንተዝኸውን ነይሩ ንምንታይ እዩ ዘይሕግዘና ዝብሉ ሰባት ኣለዉ እግዚአብሔር መልሲ ዝህበሉ ግዜ ኣለዎ ይህብ እውን ኣሎ እዩ ንሕና ዘይተረዳእናዮ እናኮንና ኢና እምበር ከምቲ ዝነበረ ፀገም ተዝኸውን ነይሩ ከምቲ ዝድርበ ዝነበረ ቦምብታት ተዝኸውን ነይሩ ከምቲ ዝድርበ ዝነበረ ናይ ታንክ ከቢድ መሳርሕታት ተዝኸውን ነይሩ ብሓደ ግዜ ፀኒትና መሃለና እስካዕ ሕዚ ማለት እዩ ታሪክ ኮይና ቀሪና መሃለና ግን እግዚአብሔር እቲ ዝድብረ ዘሎ ቦምብታትን መሳርሕታትን ኣብ መንገድታት ኣብ ሜዳታት ብዙሕ ኪሳራታት ንኸይበፅሕ እግዚአብሔር እውን ሓጊዙና ኢልና ኢና ንኣምን ሕዚ እውን ከባቢታት ዝፍጠር ዘሎ ንሪኦ ኣለና ኢና ንሱታት እውን እግዚአብሔር ከም ዝሕግዘና ዘሎ ከምቲ ዝጀመርዎ ኣይኮነን ቃልሲ ከምቲ ዝተጀመሮ ኣይኮነን እኒሄና ሃዋህው ንርኢ ኣለና ኢና ስለዚ እዚ ሃዋህው እዚ እውን ዘርእየና ዘሎ እግዚአብሔር ስለዝኾነ እግዚአብሔር መወዳእቱ ክሕግዘና እዩ መልሲ ክህብ እዩ ምናልባት ከምቲ ናይና ንደልዮ ፍጥነት ዘይከውን ይኽእል ግን እግዚአብሔር በቲ ዝደልዮ ግዜ በቲ ዝሓሰቦ ግዜ ምሕረት ብዘምፀሉ ግዜ ክመፅእ እዩ ባዕሉና እግዚአብሔር ምሳና ከም ዝኾነ ኣብቶም ተቃለስቲ ዘሎ ኣሕዋትናን ኣሓትናን እውን ጉልበት ክህቦም ሓይሊ ክህቦም ጥበብ ክህቦም ምስኣቶም ኮይኑ እውን ዝሰርሕ ከም ዘሎ ንኣምን ኢና ዘለና ስለዚ ናይ ኣቦታትና ፀሎት ናይ ታቦታት ፅዮን ፀሎት ሓይሊ ናይ ቅዱሳን ፀሎት ምሳና ከም ዝኾነ ኣሚንና እንተይተጠራጠርና ክንቃለሶ ኣለና ተቃልሲ እዚ መንፈሳዊ ቃልሲ እውን እዩ ስጋዊ ጥራሕ እውን ኣይኮነ መንፈሳዊ ቃልሲ ገዳማትና ከም ዝብሩ ታሪክና ከጥፍኡ ሃይማኖትና ክርስትና ናይ ክርስትና መደብ መዲና ስለዝኾነት ናይ ክርስትና ዋና ስለዝኾነ እዩ ህዝቢ ዝድብደብ ዘሎ ብሃይማኖት እውን ከጥፍእዎ ዝደልዩ ዘለው ታሪክ ስለዘለዎ ናይ ሃይማኖት ታሪክ ናይ ቤተ መንግስቲ ታሪክ ስለዘለዎ ስለዝኾነ እዚ ኩሉ እዚ ዝግበር ዘሎ ግፍዕታት እግዚአብሔር እውን ፍቃዕ መወዳእታ ስቂሉ ከም ዘይርአየና ኢና ንኣምን እግዚአብሔር ምስ ኩላትና ይኹን ነዚ መደብ እዚ ዘዳለኹም ኩልኻትኩም እግዚአብሔር ይባረኩም ኣብዚ መደብ ተረኸብኩም ኩልኻትኩም ተባረኹ እግዚአብሔር እዚ ግዜ እዚ ክሕልፈልና ንፀሊ ንቃለስ ሰላም እግዚአብሔር ምስ ኩላትና ይኹን ተባረኹ ተቀደሱ ኣሜን እግዚአብሔር ይባረኩም ኣብዚ መደብ ተረኸብኩም ኩልኻትኩም ተባረኹ እግዚአብሔር እዚ ግዜ ክሕልፈልና ንፀሊ ንቃለስ ሰላም እግዚአብሔር
Amen. Thank you, Abba. One moment. Thank you to Mamher Takasta for that wonderful prayer and words of encouragement. We do have to continue to stay encouraged. Thank you for Mamher Takasta for at this time, are you guys hearing an echo? We do have to continue to make sure.
YouTube,
no,
yeah,
okay,
I can hear the echo. I think YouTube live ነው ያለው ዩዝን ይሄ መስለን ይረለኹ ስለዚህ ዩቲዩብ ዩቲዩብ ቮሊዩም ወይ ኤክስ ግበርዎ ወይም ድማ አጥፍዎ ወይም ድማ ናብ ዜሮ አውርድዎ please.
Okay.
Sorry.
Actually, one moment. Let me correct that for a second. think we are set now. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Mustafa Adem, who will be speaking as well and bringing greetings. Mr. Mustafa? If you can unmute yourself.
Yep. Yeah, unmute ገይረ ኣለኹ ይስማዕ ኣሎ ዶ?
እሺ እወ ክንሰማዕ
ብጣዕሚ ፅቡቕ ናብዚ ዝዓደምኩምኒ ብጣዕሚ እየ ዘመስግነኩም ብምቕፃል ሙስጠፋ ሙዘየን ኣደም ይበሃል ዝነብረሉ ደንበር እዩ ብምቕፃል ግዜ ከይቀተልኩ ሕፅር ኣቢለ ንእሽተይ መልእኽቲ ክሕልፍ ይደሊ እየ እዚ ኣብ ትግራይ ወሪዱ ዝኒሄ ሓደጋ ማለት أنا نايمر حيوانات يكون فلتات يستوسنا يبزح بزعب حيوانات الزارة ونجار يلن كوين جنا يفلتني لس وقبل أي كيلنية أنا خم حدا يتبعوي كم ناي تجري تولادي يتب تجري وريد زنيه عبيس أجن بقلل نور أنا جراي كونن كوين جن كحل فيه أنا ملقطة كحلف زدله هذا تجري بزح بحزن أيتودا نجار زخ حل فيه 7 شوعاتن بعشرة شعات 86 مثلا بفرنجي درك قاطي من رب تግራይ أنا على السودان نرشعو بزح لعلى تحت نيرو يتسقم حليفو حزبنا عدو تمليسو اجر تخيلي اذا شجر زد ما حجي كم زي حلف غركاي تراي شجر زخ حلفيو ያው ጸገም ወሪድ ኣሎ ከም ዝንሪኦ ዘለና ብዓለም ደረጃ ዝረአ ዘሎ እርግጸኛ ኮይኑ ዝዛረቡ ኣነ እቲ ሱዳን ዘሎ ምን ዘጠራጥር ነገር ኣብ ዓቢ ሽግር ኣሎ ኩሉ ሰብሪ ኣሎ እቲ ትግራይ ውሽጥ ዘሎ ግን ምንም ዓይና ንሪኦ ነገር የለን እንታይ ዓይነት ጸገም ከም ዘሎ ምን ንፈልጥ ነገር የለን ብመዓልቱ ክፍለጥ እዩ ኮይኑ ግን ህዝብና ህዝብ ትግራይ ተስፋ ቆርጽ የብሉን ከምዚ ሕጂ ተሓባቢሩ ተፈላለየ ሓገዛት ዝገብሮ ዘሎ ብጣዕሚ ከመስግን ዝደሊ ብ70 ሸውዓተን ተጋሩ ንተጋሩ ኣይሕግዝን ነይሮም ምክንያቱ ኣብ ወፃእ ሰበይ ነበረን እዩ ግን ጥራይ ናይ ቀይ መስቀል ሓገዝ ይነብሩ ሕጂ ረጋጢምና ዘሎ ዕድል ግን ብጣዕሚ ጽቡቕ ዕድል ዘለና እቲ ሱዳን ዘሎ ህዝቢ ብቐሊል ህዝብና ይረድእ ኣሎ ዓቢ ምስገና ዝግበኦ እዩ እና እቲ ውሽጢ ዓዲ ዘሎ ህዝብና ድማኒ እቲ ናይ ፌደራል መንግስቲ ባንክ ከፍተሉ ኣለዎ ኤሌክትሪክ ክፍታሕ ኣለዎ ጽሩይ ማይ ክረክብ ኣለዎ ህዝብና ከምኡውን ናይ ሕክምና ቆሳቁስ ቀይ መስቀል ከኣትዎ ከም ዘለዎን መንግስቲ ግዴታ እዩ እዚ መማረፂ ኣይኮነን እዚ ስለዚ ዝጸገማት እዚ ከም ዝሓልፍ ህዝብና ተረዲኡ ብጸዋርነት ክንሓልፎ ከም ዘለና ኣጆኻ ክብለካ ይደሊ ያው ካብዚ ንላዕሊ ብዙሕ ክብለ ዝኽእል ነገር የለን ብጣዕሚ ዘመስግነኩም ዝዓደምኩም ንኽብረት ይሃበለይ ኩልኩም ኣሕዋትና ዘለኹም
Thank you, Mustafa.
You're welcome. So, unmute Mcbride Hiji.
Thank you. Appreciate those words as well. Mustafa is a leader in the Tigray Muslim community in Denver, and we really appreciate him speaking out and just showing support for what's going on in Tigray.
Thank you so much.
I would now like to invite Ambassador Berhane Gabra Christos to speak. Berhane, are you on?
I would like to begin by thanking the Tigrayan Communities Forum for organizing this important online event to raise awareness of the devastating war on Tigray. Despite the claims by the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who on November 28 declared the military operations completed and ceased in the Tigray region, the horrific war continues and today marks its 58th day. Since November 4th, the Tigray regional government has been defending Tigray from concerted attacks by the entire National Armed Force of Ethiopia and Eritrea, the Force of Amhara regional state, and the United Arab Emirates. The war on Tigray was never an internal domestic matter, but rather an international war, as it was jointly orchestrated by Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea. Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki have been coordinating their actions against Tigray since the so-called peace agreement that resulted in Abiy Ahmed's receiving the prestigious Nobel Peace Prize. The two jointly mobilized their forces and deployed them near the Tigray border to launch a full-fledged military offensive. The United Arab Emirates has supported Abiy Ahmed by providing highly sophisticated weaponry, which includes drones and other technologies. This conflict has resulted in the mass displacement of over 2 million innocent civilians, and over 50,000 Tigrayan refugees have entered Sudan seeking refuge. The harrowing accounts of the refugees tell us they have witnessed targeted, merciless, indiscriminate killing of civilians, including children and elderly, at the hands of the force of loyal to Abiy Ahmed and the Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki, and that the refugees have escaped airstrikes, machete killings, and feared for their lives. Much of Tigray is now under a blackout and cut from the rest of the world. Telecommunications, banking, and major forms of transport services are interrupted, as well as lack of medicine, food, fuel, and water are purposefully withheld. All of this is a form of collective punishment by Abiy Ahmed's administration. Additionally, this war is meant to impoverish the people of Tigray and the region. Critical infrastructure development projects like that of the Tegaru Dam, worth of $360 million, that provides electricity for the residents of Tigray and beyond, and the Welkite sugar factory have been targeted, as well as private businesses and factories, clinics, hospitals, schools, universities, homes, and farms, and so on. While those inside Tigray are facing the war, ethnic Tigrayans throughout the country are being profiled and targeted. Ethnic cleansing and genocide against Tigrayans is taking place in Ethiopia. The world must know and act. Well, I would like to briefly offer some background as to how we got here. When Abiy Ahmed rose to power 2.5 years ago, the domestic and international goodwill was shared by all, including the people of Tigray and the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Abiy Ahmed came to power with the hopes that he could deliver on the reformist agenda that was proposed and initiated by the then Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front. The beginnings of the reform had been witnessed by the release of political prisoners in January 2018. However, early on, many signs concerned the TPLF and other political parties, as the aspirations of the people would not be realized under Abiy Ahmed's leadership. A few months after assuming leadership, Abiy Ahmed began to build multinational federal structure and constitution of Ethiopia. The Tigray regional government strongly believes that Abiy Ahmed's unconstitutional attempt to dismantle Ethiopia's federal structure is mainly responsible for the civil war and protracted and widespread conflicts in Ethiopia. Now, Ethiopia is known for its over 3 million internally displaced persons, daily killings and detentions of civilians, assassinations, and jailing of leaders and followers of crucial opposition parties and media personalities. The expulsion of researchers, including those of the International Crisis Group, and the suspension of international journalists are new addition to the list of abuse. Abiy Ahmed, instead of choosing the route of dialogue, began to misuse the judiciary, the legislative institutions, and declared war, deploying armed forces, and jailed opposition leaders and closed independent media outlets to settle all political issues in Ethiopia. And as we persisted down the path of taking a series of measures that undermine the constitution and federal structure, the political difference between the TPLF and the EPRDF further widened. It became evident to the TPLF that Abiy Ahmed has a desire to take Ethiopia back to the pre-1991 political order. As a difference in vision for Ethiopia between the TPLF and the EPRDF members grew, Abiy Ahmed quickly replaced the EPRDF with his Prosperity Party, breaching fundamental existing procedures. In this haste attempt of consolidate power, Abiy's vision of a highly centralized state with no rule for self-rule and administration became clear. Abiy Ahmed swore on the people of Tigray while threatening their constitutional right to self-administration is an attempt to impose central control on the only region that he could not maneuver to replace with leaders beholden to his will, as he has done with every region in Ethiopia. While a devastating war rages in Tigray, the rest of Ethiopia is embroiled in deep crisis. Note that the deteriorating political, economic, social, and security situation is a characteristic of today's Ethiopia. The war on Tigray has already proven to have wide-reaching impacts, and we are witnessing what an unstable Ethiopia can do to the region, threatening international peace and security efforts. Thus, we call on the international community to take these issues very seriously, beyond words, and to actively work for peace. I thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Ambassador Christos. Really appreciate your comments. As was shared, this is nothing new to a lot of Tigrayans. This war, this strife, this difficult time. We do have a lot of individuals and community organizations that are in support of our efforts to bring awareness to what's happening in Tigray, to stop war on Tigray. And we have a few more speakers who can share additional comments and sentiments with the team. At this time, I'd like to invite Pastor Mike Mcbride to speak. If you will unmute yourself.
Good morning. Good morning. It is an honor to be here with you, beloved. My name is Michael Mcbride. I am pastor of the Way Church in Berkeley, California. A number of the members in my congregation are from Tigray and Ethiopia and Eritrea, and so I have lots of connections to my African diaspora family members. I'm a native of the Bay Area, so I've grown up blessed by the culture and the people of your great nation, and certainly your community. I also lead the national campaign of the Faith in Action Network called the Live Free campaign, which attempts to address issues of mass incarceration and criminalization of Black people across the country, and dare I say across the world, and lead the Black Church PAC, which is a national network of faith congregations from the Black church Christian traditions who are committed to social justice in the spirit and legacy of people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Fannie Lou Hamer, Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass, and the list goes on and on. I start with that introduction because I want to just situate my comments in this spirit. You know, I am someone who is a follower of Jesus Christ, someone who believes in the revolutionary message of liberation and freedom and justice and peacemaking. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. says that those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. And it is with this spirit that I stand in solidarity with all of you all who are calling for the end to the war on Tigray, in Tigray by its own countrymen. It is unconscionable to have learned of this conflict through the testimony and pain of my sister Frowani and others whose family members have had to flee across the border into Sudan in order to seek relief and refuge, and also knowing that there are still those who are left in Tigray who are finding themselves vulnerable to state-sponsored violence. It is never acceptable for any political leader or any human being for that matter to turn the resources of their own country on the citizens of that country. There is never a political project, there is never a political vision, and there is never an occasion where the government should persecute, maim, harm, or kill its own people with the very weapons of war that the country produces using the labor and the tax base and the resources of its own people. And so I am standing here with you all to certainly not only be in solidarity, but to invite you to continue to resist and to fight through every nonviolent means at our disposal. We who are here in the United States of America have a privilege to engage our own government in ways that will allow an outsized impact on the United Nations, and dare I even say on the leaders in Ethiopia and the region who are waging war against its own citizens. We have had to organize in times past when the Rwanda genocide was happening, when the issues related to Nigeria not only have been happening, but continue to happen. And now we must use our privilege as citizens in the United States and people in the United States with representatives who represent us in the United States to push and demand that we use the leverage and the influence and the political international pressure of our country to end the war on Tigray. I join all of these voices in calling on us to use every method at our disposal, including email campaigns, Twitter campaigns. Not enough people know about this. I continue to find folks reaching out to me when I post these messages on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. There are people around you. There are people who work with you. There are people who worship with you in your congregations who are not from this part of the country or this part of the world in Tigray, Ethiopia, and they have no idea that this is happening. They have no idea that a genocide is literally underway. And so I want to continue to encourage all of you on this call to see yourself as an organizer, see yourself as an advocate, see yourself as a champion with influence. I encourage you to email and call your elected official who represents you every day, at least one time a day, and demand that they support the establishment of an unobstructed access to humanitarian aid to the millions of people in Tigray. Demand that they encourage an all-inclusive national dialogue to chart the path for a peaceful resolution of the war. Demand for the unconditional withdrawal of the Eritrean army from Tigray. Demand that they push for the deployment of a United Nations-led investigation panel into all atrocities and violations of international war, especially war crimes and crimes against humanity in Tigray. Demand that the ethnic cleansing and ethnic profiling that is happening across the country of Ethiopia of Tigray citizens ends. Demand that women and children and men are not being raped and murdered and killed and assaulted arbitrarily. Demand that these actions end. And I just want to reiterate to all of us that our presence here in the United States gives us a very outsized influence on what can happen if we get our elected officials to move towards an intervention into this situation. And so I want to encourage you all to just be reminded that you and we are not a people without hope. We are not a people without resources. We are not a people without power. We are situated for such a time as this to influence those who have the ability to end this war in Tigray. It will be our collective advocacy that will help bring an end to this war in Tigray. And so I stand with you. I encourage us to continue to fight using every nonviolent means at our disposal. And you have the partnership, the commitment, and the support of me and my network to help make this so. I will put my information in the chat, but just know that Pastor Michael Mcbride and our network are with you. The prayers of the Most High are being offered on your behalf. To all of you who have friends and family members that are caught in these conflicts. Our hearts go out to you, our prayers go out to you, but most of all, our advocacy and our support. So thank you for the opportunity to bear witness to our solidarity and to work and partner with you all. And may the grace of the Most High be with us as we wage nonviolent war against the enemies of peace and justice in the world. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Mike. Thank you for being an ally. Thank you for standing with us, and thank you for using your platform to bring awareness to what's going on. It's almost 60 days, and as you shared, it's mind-boggling that many people are not aware of what's happening in Tigray. So we thank you for your support. I would like to invite Ms. Janet Lee to speak as well, a member of the Denver Aksum Sister Cities organization.
Thank you for the introduction. Salamno. I have a lengthy history with Ethiopia that I'm going to talk about just briefly. I'll touch on it briefly. I served in the Peace Corps from 1974 to 76 and was assigned to Sabat Mcbride. At that time, the country was in turmoil and Peace Corps was pulled from the northern areas. And as everyone here knows, a major event happened on September 12th, 1974, which was the deposing of the emperor. I was on Churchill Street that day and I witnessed young men parading up the street, staffs in hand and waving flags, not knowing what terror the future would bring. I taught 7th grade English my first year and started to teach 11th grade English the second year before the students went on strike for the remainder of the year. And I often think if my second year had been as good as my first, I would have stayed a third. Since that time, not a day has gone by in my life that I have not thought about Ethiopia. So let's fast forward to 2006 when I returned to Ethiopia with my university to Budajera, which is on the other side of the Garage Mountains. And I was there to work on a literacy project. I felt like I was returning home. This experience led me to work with other libraries and literacy projects, this time in Mekelle, where I helped set up a couple of libraries and where I stayed for 5 months. Someone from Aksum heard that about our library project and came to investigate and also to recruit, giving me an opportunity to visit Aksum and to be my place of service when I was awarded a Fulbright Award for 10 months from 2017 to 2018, so very, very recently. I also chose Aksum because of the Denver Sister Cities partnership, which I had recently joined. Denver and Aksum are celebrating 25 years of being sister cities this year, and they've sponsored many projects together. I felt really welcomed and connected when I was in Aksum. I never spent a holiday alone, but Dodge drivers offered me free rides, even when I preferred to walk. And every day I marveled at my fortune to be in a city with historical treasures, and I never took them for granted. I have primarily been in contact with friends, both in Mekelle and Aksum on Facebook. So on November 3rd, I was chatting with a friend from Aksum about the US elections and other events. Little did either of us know that would be the last time we would communicate. I have been through blackouts in Ethiopia before, but this one felt very, very different. And like all of you here, I scrolled the internet for news. I wrote my senators and representatives. I sent emails to the United Nations and the European Union. I signed petitions, and both the Peace Corps group and the Denver Sister Cities group developed statements asking for a peaceful resolution, and we distributed these statements widely. We hand-delivered one to the Ethiopian Embassy in Washington, D.C. I also forwarded it to Ambassador Rayner at the US Embassy in Addis Ababa, and he responded to me personally. I didn't participate in the public demonstrations in Denver, although I really wanted to because of the COVID. situation, but I did post photos and articles of the demonstrations. I've posted heavily on Facebook, both on my personal page and on the Peace Corps Ethiopia page. And through this, I have made numerous new friends and connections within the Peace Corps and the Tigrayan communities. I sent a personal, this is going to sound a little funny, but I sent a personal message on Facebook to every one of my friends on Aksum and Mekelle, letting them know that I was concerned and to reply once they got the message. And so far, no one's responded. It is difficult not to go into a very dark place personally throughout this. And it is important not only to take action, but also to remain strong. One of my friends, whose husband is from Mekelle, was able to contact and get in touch with his mother and sister. So this was a relief. After 56 days, another Peace Corps friend of mine was able to speak to her husband in Mekelle after he was able to flee his village outside of Aksum and get to Mekelle. 48 hours ago, I received a text from my friend, and it read, "I am alive. I will call you when I reach Addis." And I must have read that text 10 times to make sure that it was real. We have texted since, but we have not spoken. But I'm really very cautious about asking for details, both because of security, but also because of trauma. I cannot imagine everything that he has been going through. But I want to remain strong for him and for the rest of the community. So I thank you for the opportunity to share my personal reflection. And we have a lot of work ahead of us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lee. And to your point, we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we really appreciate all of your efforts and the work that you are doing to just spread awareness, to connect with the sister cities and even the Peace Corps. So thank you, Ms. Lee. I would like to invite Mr. Luel Zodu at this time to speak. He is the chairman of Baito Yaakl USA. Mr. Luel, are you here? If you can unmute. Do we have a representative from Yaakl who will be speaking? Okay, we will come back to Mr. Luel and Yaakl if they are able to join a bit later. At this time, I would like to invite Dr. Nagasi Mcbride to speak. He is the founder of Wafri Salam, which is also known as the Campaign for Peace. Dr. Nagasi, if you can unmute.
Thank you, Mcbride. Haftay, thank you, Nuhulatkum, بحلف خاء Tigray Professional Network, Tigray Communities Forum. نزي معلت زي أداليهم نخلها ناخد تساتفوا زوقعكم كاو حليفة نخلها تساتفتي نايزي event كالن ناي كال أكلنا حبرة السبنا تزلع عليه زخبرن سلامتا نوفر السلام وكيله كتحلال فدلي تي فتركم وزلهم وفر السلام مس حبرة السبو نخن راخب وفر السلام بقليلو أيرياني نزغاب تزلع على مسغانا يغربكم مالتي كاو حليفو كنبلو ندلي كم وفر السلام زي قتي مزولو نزحل في خلط ورحي أب زح حبرة السبنا قدات مالتي بهيوت بنبرت كمون التتفوتو مربتن بيتن قديفكا مسدادن بتعمي بحزن بحماق إيريو إزي وريدنا زلو خاء ከም ወፍሪ ሰላም ዓብይ ፈተነ ንሕብረተሰብና ምዃኑ እዩ ዝርዳእ ማለት እዩ እዚ ፈተነ እዚ ከምቶም ካልኦት ቅድሚ ሕጂ ዝሓለፉ ፈተነታት ፈተነ እኳ ተኾነ ግን ብሓንሳብ ብዓብይ ብከምዚ ዝኣክል ደረጃ ምምፁ ነቲ ሕብረተሰብ ክሳይ ብሓንሳብ ክንዲ ዝጉድኣት ምብፅሑ ግን ብፍሉይ ንሪኦ ማለት እዩ እና ነቲ ንሕና ንሰርሖ ዝነበርና ስራሓት ናይ ሰላም እውን ብመጠኑ ይኹን ብኔጌቲቭ ማለት ብኣሉታዊ ከም ዝጎድኦ ክንሕብር ንፈቱ ማለት እዩ ስለዚ እዚ ተረኺቡ ዘሎ ሕማቅ ናይ ብሓቂ ፈታኒ ግዜ ክንፍተን ስለ ዝበለና እዩ መፅኢ ዘሎ እዚ ሕብረተሰብ እዚ ሕማቅ ወሪድዎ ዘሎ እንድሕር ደኣ ርኢናዮ ኮይና ኣበርክትኡ ኣብቲ ዞባ ኣብ ዓለም ቀሊል ኣይነበረን እዚ ሕብረተሰብ እዚ ኣምነት ፃዕሪ ኣምነት ስራሕ ኣምነት ምዕባለ ኮይኑ ይፀኒሑ እዚ ሕብረተሰብ እዚ ሰላም ንኸምፅእ ከዓ ይፅዕር ኣሎ ማለት እዩ እዚ ሕብረተሰብ እዚ ክሳብ ሕጂ እዚ ስለዚ ኣምነት ፃዕርን ኣምነት ልምዓትን ኣምነት ሰላምን ካብ ኮነ ሰላም ካብ ሰኣነ ሰላም ምስኣን ጥራይ ዘይኮነ ከዓ ሂወት ንብረትን ከምኡውን መረበትን ናይዚ ሕብረተሰብ እዚ ምፍንቃልን ወፍሪ ሰላም ከምቲ ኣቀዲሞ ዝበልክዎ ብጣዕሚ እዩ ዝሕዝኖ ንዚ ከዓ ወፍሪ ሰላም ዓቕሙ ክገብር እዩ ንዚ ሰላም እዚ ናብቲ ዝነበሮን ልዕሊ እቲ ዝነበሮን ንክመልስ ብኣባላቱ ገይሩ ካልእ እውን ንሕብረተሰብ ዓላምን ንደቂ ሃገርን መፀዋዕታ እንዳገበረ እቲ ጀሚርዎ ዘሎ ስራሕ ከም ዝቕፅል በዚ ኣጋጣሚ እዚ ንወፍሪ ሰላም ወኪለ ክዛረብ ደሊ ግን ሓደ ነገር ክንርድኦ ዘለና ኣሕዋት ኣያታት ለባማትን ዓበይቲ ዓድን ከምኡውን ምሁራትን ኣለኹም ኣብዚ ፎራም እዚ ካብ ሕማቅ ኩሉ ግዜ ፅቡቅ ወፂእ እዚ ሕማቅ ገጢሙና ዘሎ እዚ ሕማቅ ንሕብረተሰብና ገጢምዎ ዘሎ ንፅቡቅ ንኽቅይሮ እቲ ልዑል ፈጣሪ ናብ ፅቡቅ ቀይሩ ፅቡቅ ውፅኢት ከርእየና ወፍሪ ሰላምን ምስ ሕብረተሰቡ ትምኒቲ እዩ ማለት እዩ ከምዚ ንሪኦ ዘለና እዚ ሕብረተሰብ ዝገጢምዎ ዘሎ መምሃሩ ኮይኑ ንዝበለፀ ንቐፃሊ ውሕስነት ናይ ሰላም ዘለዎ ሃዋህው ንክፈጥር በርቲዑ ንክሰርሕ ዝገብር ኩነታት እዩ ተፈጢሩ ዘሎ ኣሕዋቱን መቅርብቱን ክፈልጥ እዚ ሕብረተሰብ እዚ ከዓ ዕድል ፈጢሩ ኣሎ እዚ ኩነታት እዚ ከዓ ዕድል ፈጢሩ ኣሎ ማለት እዩ ስለዚ ንሕና ከም ሕብረተሰብ ክንገብሮ ዘለና እንታይ እዩ እዚ ገጢሙ ዘሎ ከቢድ ፈተነ ኣቕሊልና ክንሪኦ የብልናን ከቢድ ፈተነ እዩ ግን ንሕና ንክንጋገ ንሕና ሕማቅ ቃላት ንክነውፅእ ሕማቅ ስራሕ ንክንሰርሕ እውን ዝደፋፍእ ስለ ዝኾነ እዚ ነገር እዚ ሓላፊ ምዃኑ ፈሊጥና ሃንደበትና ንገብሮ ኩሉ ክስታይ ተቋፃፂርና ንቐፃሊ ሰላም ዘምፅእ ስራሓት ክንሰርሕ ኣብ መንጎ እዚ ሕብረተሰብ እዚ ናብ ዝለዓለ ምፍልላይን ጎንፅን ክፈጥር ዝኽእል ቃላትን ክሳይን ይድርበሎ እዩ ንሕና ግን ብመገድና ከዓ ኩላህና ኣንደበትና ተቋፃፂርና ንዛረቦን ንሰርሖን ተቋፃፂርና ፈታኒ ግዜ ስለ ዝኾነ ሕማቅ ስለ ዝኾነ ፅቡቅ ካብዚ ፈታኒ ግዜ ተፃዊርካ ተሓልፎ እዩ ፅቡቅ ዝመፅእ ብዙሕ ፅቡቅ ነገራት ክመፅእ እዩ ንዚ ፈታኒ ግዜ ግን መዓንጣና ሸጥ ኣቢልና ንሕብረተሰብና እንዳባራታዕና ነንሕድሕድና እንዳተባራታዕና እዚ ፈታኒ እዚ ግዜ ክንሓልፎ ወፍሪ ሰላም ይፅውዕ ማለት እዩ ከም መፈላለይና ክኸውን የብሉን እቲ ዝነበረ ናይ ምፍልላያት ቃላትን ካልእን ተማሂርናሉ ንሰላምን ንርግኣትን ንሰርሐሉ ዕድላት ፈጢሩልና ኣሎ ነቲ ዕድላት ክንሪኢ ኣለና ኩሉ ግዜ ነቲ ፀልማት ጥራይ ኣይኮንና ክንርኢ ዘለና ብርሃን ኣሎ ድሕሪ ፀልማት እቲ ብርሃን ትክመፅ እዩ ልክዕ እዚ ሕብረተሰብና እዚ ብዘይንቅበሎ ደረጃ ተጎዲኡ ኣሎ ግን ከምቲ ዝበልክዎ ካብዚ ሕማቅ እዚ ፅቡቅ ከም ዝወፅእ ተስፋና እዩ እና መፈላለየ ክኸውን የብሉን ሃንደበትና ንዝፈታኒ ግዜ ከዓ ነብስና ተቋፃፂርና ከም ሕብረተሰብ ኩላህና ክንባራታታዕ ክሓልፍ ምዃኑ ክነግር ደሊ ደጊመ ዝብሎ ኩሉ ክሓልፍ እዩ ፅንዓት የድልየና ትብዓትን ትዕግስትን የድልየና ምቁፅፃር ሃንደበትና የድልየና ንምንታይ እቲ ቀፃሊ ሰላም ካብ ትዕግስትን ካብ ነብስኻ ምቁፅፃርን عميق كحاسبك عميق سفيحنا تحساس بحيس كأخا إذا خمسة زعم السلاح ما أجزي حلفة تغلمه وفر سلام كا بتحتنا حبرة السماء إزي كواليتي زي وكا إزي أكايدا زي كورسون كختلون بتحتنا حتى مالتي كم زرعهم وفر سلام سلام متص حبرة السواد كقرار نورماليزيشن نخفتر بزح كسر حسنيحي بزح وصيتات كا أبركيتي مالتي تخونا كن كم تقدم زبولكو بزز قطم بزخل التوحي بزح سرحون تعنكي فيه تخونا كن بتعجسي بميلا إذا نقدر زخن حلفه مخانا بمأمان نقول حبرة السمنا أبت السلام معرة نخال ندليو لوتن أب سلام كا إني تتحيزنا كأسأل سلام كأسألي وحسنا زلوا سلام أب حبرة السمنا خنسفن كلها حبيرنا خنسرح بزقات أمزي نخلاتكم أبزلهم نحبرة السمان زي فرام زي كم عدل تتكيمو يسوع مالتي وفر سلام كاو حليفو وفر سلام نزي زقات أمي حما كنا تعتاب زخل توحي قونسيم سدت كالن دون خبل بقصبت بتحتنا ندحتته نحبرة السب علم مسوفر سلام كوينو نزي قتي مزول حما كنا تعت بقصبت دوز بلولو نخسرحون نقولوا نتصوع مالتي كاو حليفو نتسلام دما نتسأل سلام نخو حس دما بحساب كلها نخوينا نخسر حلو ندا تصوعه بزي أقات أمزي حد عمتي زمت زلو حدش عمت كان كلها أنا رهوا زمسالنا سلام زمسالنا نقولها أنا قصانة زمسالنا إزي بايتايز غيروا عمت كهونلنا وفر سلام داتا تمني دقيمنا ني تجراي بروفيشنال نتورك حلف بحلفي نحفتنا مبرات ازي عدما جيركي نزي كامبين فور بيس مس حبرته سوبو نخراخب عدل زفطركمو دا مسجنا سلام وردلنا سلام كمتصيو كلنا نزفتان غزي حقسن حلفون دابلكو ازي ناي كبري شمعه نزفت تفطير زول حزن بمبرها بقولني كعص دل ثانك يو يعني الحوار.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagasi. This too shall pass, as you shared. We have to work together. Tigray will prevail. We thank you so much for all the work you are doing with Campaign for Peace, Wafri Salam, and appreciate all of your support and continued advocacy. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Martin Plaut to speak. He is a journalist and senior research fellow at the Institute of Commonwealth Studies, joining us from London. Mr. Martin.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and thank you for giving me the honor to speak to you and your gathering. I'm just sad to be here in a way because of the circumstances under which we meet, which are far from good. Yesterday, I was speaking to Tigrayan who lives in Canada, and his father worked for the Ethiopian Airlines for 33 years. He'd hoped to have his mother with him this Christmas, New Year, and she was not allowed to fly for only one reason, because she is Tigray. And that kind of ethnic profiling, that kind of racial discrimination is just utterly appalling. And, you know, for me, that is completely unacceptable. I spent 30 years working in the anti-apartheid campaign. I'm a South African by origin, and, you know, this is not where we should be. We should be somewhere completely different. And I feel so much for yourselves that, you know, the terrible war that was fought with Eritrea, the border war, just 20 years ago. Now your people go through this again. My own links are closer to the Eritrean people. I visited Eritrea in the 1980s, twice during the War of Liberation. And it was with the greatest sorrow that I saw the country slip into dictatorship and into the appalling repression that they've suffered under year after year after year. And the enormous generosity of the Tigrayan people, not only in hosting 4 of the refugee camps run by the UNHCR, 96,000 people, but also the people that you hosted in your communities. because it wasn't just in the refugee camps. And those Eritreans have now been what? We don't know. I think they've been forcibly conscripted by the Eritrean army as it entered Tigray. They have been forcibly returned. We have first-hand accounts of them being forcibly returned to Eritrea. Heartbreaking stories. There have also been the appalling stories from Mekelle, and I think the even worse ones, although I mean, we only hear the vaguest rumors from Adwa. Lord knows what is happening in some of the smaller communities. And I think the suffering of your people is immense, and it is an absolute tragedy that nothing more is being done. But I want to try and look upon a slightly more optimistic way in these hard times. First of all, I think that that these difficult, tragic events will, frankly, link the diaspora more closely with its home community, because you are the people who will now have to take up the baton when your people are under such appalling pressure. And I'm sure that you will not fail them. I mean, they fought for so many years, from the 1970s to the 1990s, for the liberation of Ethiopia, and I'm sure that you will stand by them and you will do what is required. Secondly, I think that it will link the Eritrean diaspora and the Tigrayan diaspora, I hope, more directly. We've already begun making those links. And we are launched a joint campaign against what I think is a really effective target, and that is Ethiopian Airlines. It is the flag carrier for Ethiopia, and Ethiopia was justly proud of its record. It is a big cash earner, foreign exchange earner, and we have now written to the United Nations. We've written to organizations like Save the Children or Oxfam to call on them now to stop using Ethiopian Airlines, because this is one way that we can all act to basically say to them, unless there is absolutely no other way of getting to your destination, do not use Ethiopian Airlines. And it's one way that we can all act upon, and we can campaign and we can shame people, so that in the end, it will be as bad using Ethiopian Airlines as it was to buy South African oranges during the apartheid regime. It's as simple as that. We have the means at our hands. And I thought the points made by Pastor Mcbride were really inspirational. We in Britain, you in America, live in democracies. It is up to us to use those democratic structures. It is our duty to call on our representatives to take up the cause wherever we can. And we need to make those links much wider, across from New Zealand through to Norway, to the United States, beyond. And we can make a huge campaign that will link everyone and basically say we will not accept the kind of repression and the killings and the suffering that is going on in the whole of the Horn of Africa. It is just utterly appalling and completely unacceptable. In that spirit, I thought I would read you a short poem, which I think says a lot. It was written 400 years ago by the Dean of St. Paul's Cathedral in London. His name was John Donne, and you may well know it. It goes like this. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of a continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manner of thy friends or of thine own were. Any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind. Therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clark. That poem just touched me. I think, as you had shared, it is definitely our duty. It is our duty to use our democracy in the United States and the United Kingdom to call on our elected officials who we voted in, and to make sure that they are speaking out and doing what is needed to stop this war in Tigray.
I agree.
Thank you so much for your consistent support and your advocacy, and for all that you do. You have a deep understanding of the Horn of Africa and all the dynamics and complications that take place throughout that region, and we appreciate your support. I would like to invite our next speaker. In fact, she is not able to be here today, but I'd like to acknowledge her, Ms. Wafa Saeed. She is the CEO and Executive Director of the Sudanese American Public Affairs Association in Denver, Colorado. She is unable to join us today, but we know that our Sudanese brothers and sisters are supporting us on the ground back home in Tigray. Many of us on this call today were born in Sudan, of similar circumstances what we're experiencing today. So we hope to hear from her in the future, and she will follow up with us as well. Hopefully there'll be another opportunity to meet with Ms. Wafa. Is Luel Zodu on with the Yaakal? Just want to check in. Okay. I'd like to invite Mr. Quanell Ralph Evans. Is Mr. Quanell on the line? I'll also acknowledge Mr. Quanell, who is not able to attend. He is with the new Black Panther Nation out of Houston, Texas. He spoke out at one of our demonstrations in Houston and stands as an ally in support of our efforts to stop this war in Tigray. And hopefully we'll hear from Mr. Quanell in the future. I'd also like to acknowledge Mr. Awet Iyasu. Is Awet on the line?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mcbride.
Hi, Awet, welcome.
Thank you. I just want to say, I think بتقريني أخذ عربي. كمل لكم سلام أبزز لكم مو عادي بدحان كتلو تسفاي قبر إذا عمت زي كلتا شعن عسران نقول لاتنا بتعمي تحزن عمتي نيرو بفلاي كأني بعمين بسنكناي كورونا حمام تشغلنا ندابلنا حجة بفلاي بإثيوبيا تخفي تزولو خناتات لعلو خلوخا بتقراي تأقاتي مزولو خناتات بتعمي زحزنيو نذا عامت زيا مليسو تزخف عامت جيرو علو دبل ابنتها لني كم نفلتو حزب إثيوبيا بفلاي حزب تقراين حزب إريتران لعلو دخون يكون حبرة السب بسنك خنات نعمتات تساقينا تساقي حزب زي أبزي حجي خامتي ذو الخنات زي أدلا ديد الخناتي زي كنات زي بقصبت كقارص دلو كجمر زي قبو خناتيو أنا بتعمي يحزنني زو سوفار تقولي ذلو كفالاتنا حبرة سبنا بهوت دسانو منقسة سماي كوارسوم زو قصلو خاني كحاويو تسفاي قبر توم تمزابيلهم زلو خاني ككاب زلو عادتات عادهم بسلام دمولو سلو خناتات كفتر تسفاي قبر لعل كله خاني بزح دتحساس هابو خوين زلو خناتات اب إيرترا زلو ديكتاتوريا وسرعات أجددوا لإيرتراويان أنت أرحواتهم تجارون أنت أرحواتهم كالوت كفالات ناي أفريقيان سوفار كبأسنا كندي عمتات حليف له حجة عزيز أتصل له يسب أو زخون خوينات I think ناي إيرترا إيد متى ستاو كله أين برون حجة كمان بقصبت كقارص علوه إيرتراويان بسلام داني فتحوا نإثيوبيا ونحواتنا إلنا خنزارب يزقبا النمبري سرعات إساياس أب إثيوبيا أتيو بحدا نحدا وجن دقيفو ዝገብሮ ዘሎ ግብሪ እዚ ብጣዕሚ ዝሕዝን ነገር እዩ ኣነ ብወገነይ ብጣዕሚ ኣሕዚንን ኣሎ ብጣዕሚ ዘተሓሳስብ እዩ ኣብ ትግራይ ንክንደይ ዓሰርተታት ዓመታት ተዓቂቦም ዝነበሩ ዓሰርተታት ኣሽሓት ኤርትራውያን ካብኡ ከድካ ምጭዋይ ገለ እዚ ከቋርፅ ኣለዎ መንግስቲ ኢትዮጵያ ከዓኒ ናይ ዓለም ለኸ ናይ ሕግታት ናይ ሂውማን ራይት ክኽበር ኣለዎ ናይ መሰል ስደተኛታት ክኽበር ኣለዎ ክብል ደሊ በዚ ኣጋጣሚ እዚ I think أنا بزعبنا إثيوبيا politica خزارة أيدلني جن أنا بوجني كم إريتراوي أمريكاوي مثلا بتعمي يحزنني أب إثيوبيا تخفي ذو اللخنات بسلام كفتح حلو بحلاية نفس وقف حبرة سبنا إثيوبيا مسر سوساني علوم مثلا علوم كمرتون دلوا كمرتون مثلا علوم سو نزي أخبرو تي منجسي إثيوبيا خاني بسلام فتحوا نزي خناتات يسوع and لوم خاني أبغون نكون كوينة نزوم تقولي زلو سبات candle vigil نمقبار لو بمتى زلو خمسهم and I just want to say نتوم سدرابة تقولوا تنعتها بكم and I think صنعوا إذا كمان كحل فيو كم زول كيو earlier مبرات إذا كمان كحل فيو خندي حالي فيو so كل تشعن عشران حدا عامة السلام عامة الفتحية جبر لنا and كاب كورونا كاب وجن ولا وجن نوت الله عامة جبر لنا and حزب تجراي كأني صنعوا نسلام كتوع أبغون نسلام كون كقصل كأني يتوع بزجات أمزي and كبرت هذا أبزد عدوني ناي محبركم تجراي ناي أتلانتا الشمبار سلام كني.
Thank you so much, Awet. As we were speaking about our elected officials and making sure that we understand our democracy and our rights here, Mr. Awet is the vice mayor or the mayor pro tem for Clarkston, Georgia here. And as an elected official, he is doing his part every day to bring awareness to just what's going on to ordinary citizens and especially what's going on in Tigray. So Mr. Awet, we thank you. Thank you for your continued support and your solidarity. We have heard from many speakers today, several who unfortunately were unable to attend, but we thank them nonetheless. We've heard from many individuals who stand in solidarity with us, and that's what's most important, because what's happening right now is not just affecting Tigrayans, it's affecting all of Ethiopia, it's affecting Eritreans, it's affecting the entire Horn of Africa. And we have to continue to fight. Again, it's been close to 60 days where many of us may not have even heard from any of our family members. We don't know the condition of our people back home. We know that it's dire. We have to continue to speak out. We have to continue to reach out to our elected officials, to partnering organizations. We have to demand that the international community hear us and step in so that we can stop this war. I know it's a very emotional time. I'm doing my best to not get too emotional, but that is okay as well, because we understand the pain that our family members and loved ones are experiencing. Before we move on to our program, this kind of concludes our speakers for today. I would like to see, I see a note. Is someone from the Yakul movement on who could speak?
Mcbride, I'm part of Yakul. I'm not designated to speak, but I can add up a little bit of my feelings since I'm a member of them. But I was calling them to see if Mr. Zaude or there was a representative Daniel, but unfortunately, I guess maybe he's not in our meeting. أنا قالناي بتقرينيا غيره قالناي سبورت نمهابيو نقولهم سدرانا بيتسبنا زخونكم حزبنا تግራይ እዚ ዝግበር ዘሎ ሁነታት ብምግንዛብ ኩሉ ግዜ ለባማ ታይብኑ ነይሮም ቀደሙን ኣብቲ ናይ 1998 ይዝከረኒ እቶም ለባማ ስንታይ ይብሉ ኩሉ ግዜ ህዝቢ ምህዝብሲ መታን ንኸይንፃላእ ንኸይንበኣስ እናተሓላለና ፖለቲካ ይቀያይሩ ይበዓለም እሞ ኣብቲ ሕድሕድ ናይ ከም ጎረባብቲ ከም ኣሕዋት ከም ቤተሰብ ኮንና ግን ኩሉ ግዜ ብክብርን ብሰላምን ክንነብር ከም ዘለና ይዛረቡ ነይሮም እዮም ኮነ ተረፈ እቲ ነገር ይንህር እሞ ምስ ናሃረ ከዓ ኣብ ካልእ ዘይድሊ ነገራት ትበፅሕ ሂስትሪ ሪፒት ኢትሰልፍ ሎሚ ከዓ ወላ እኳ ብዙሕ ሰላማዊ ሰልፊ ኣነ ተሳቲፈ ነይረ ንድጋፍ ንምርኣይ ኣብ ኣትላንታ ወየቶም ቀደም ምሳና ድስለፉ ይረኽቦም እሞ እዚኣ ነገር እዚኣሲ ተዘክረና እታ ናይ ቀደም ማለት እዩ ሕጂ ከዓ ብዋና ክዛረብ ዝደሊ እቲ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ኢንቴንሽን ናቱ ፅቡቅ እምበር ተሓፋሽ ደገ ደሎ ወላ ውሽጢ ደሎ ነዚ ድግበር ደሎ ኩሉስ ድብል ተዘይኮይኑ በዚ ተግባራት እዚ ተሓጒሱ ዝሓድርን ዝውዕልን ሰብ የለን እቲ ኩናት ተኾነ ንዓና እውን ዝምልከት ኣይነበረን ኮነ ተረፈ ግን እንታይ ክምርጫ ኣለዎ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ብሰዓት ዘሲ እንታይ ምርጫው ሓደ ሰብ እዩ ገባሪኡ ሓዳጊኡ እንተደለ ኮብኪቡ እዞም ደቅና ዝኾኑ ሕዋትና ቤተሰብና ኮብኪቡ ሒዝዎም ከይዱ ኣብዘ ዘይናቶም ጉድ ከእትዎም ይኽእል እንተደልዩ ካብኡ ጨውዩ ክወስዶም ይኽእል እንተደልዩ ድላዩ ዝገብር ዘሎ ስለዚ ካብቲ ንሰምዖ አትሮሲቲ እውን ሳይቻዝ እዚ ወላ እዚ እቲ ምጭዋይን ገለን መግደፎ ወላ ዝሉቲ ምዝራፍ እዚታት ኢልካ እዚታት ነውሪ መነወሪ ግን እዚ ሲ ፓርትናትና ባህል እውን ኣይኮነን ናይቲ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ መቸስ ሰሚዕኩም ትኾኑ ኣብዚ ኩሉ ቤተክርስትያናትና ልክዕ ከም ኣዋጅ ነጊሮማ ግደፍዶ ካብቲ ቁሑት ክትገዝኡ ብነፃ ታሂቦምኩም ከይትቕበሉ እዮም ደሞ እዚ ከዓ እንታይ እዩ እቲ ንሕጂ ጥራይ ደይኮነ ነባሪ ፅልኢት ህዝቢ ንምትእትታዊ ተኾነ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ካብዚ ይልብም እቲ ምርጫናትና ከምዛ ጉዳያት ትሪእና ዘለኹም ኣብቲ ጎንኩም ጠጠው ክንብል ኢና ንደሊ እቲ ዓቕምና ዘፍቅዶ ምሳኹም ኢና ብሓሳብ ድዩ ብልቢ ድዩ ብተግባር ድዩ ብዝኾነ መገዲ ማለት እዩ ኣብዚ ናይ ኣትላንታ ክዛረብ ከለኹ እንታይ ይብል ሎሚ ንዓኹም ፅባሕ ኮነ ዓናይ ኣብ ዝኾነ ግዜ ይብል ዘለኹ እዚ ሎሚ ዝግበር ዘሎ ኣሻጥር ናይ ኣብን ናይ ኢሳያስን ብሓደ ኮንካ ነቲ ህዝቢ ምጥፋእ ንዓና እውን ሓንቲ ይጠቐመና ብቀደምና ኣብ ክንደይ መፃግም ዘለና ኣትሊስት እኮ እዚ ህዝቢ ትግራይ ሲ ዕንጊሉ ሰብ ሂስትሪ ተፈላለየ ነገር እዩ ድምህረና እሞ ግን ኣቦቱ ተቐሚጡ ሂስትሪ እዩ ንሕና ሕሕትና እቲ ዘድሊ ይቕረታት ተኸባቢርና ሓደ ግዜ ብፅቡቅ ንልዓል ሓደ ግዜ ብካልእ ፀገማት ይልዓል ግን ነዚ እውን ሪኮንሲሊየሽን ድበሃል ቃል ኣሎ ኣብ ሓደ ነገራት መፂና ተኸባቢርና ተፈታቲና ቢኮዝ ዜሮ ሲ ኩሉና ተበድልና ዘለና ፍጥረት ኢና ስለዚ ነዚ ትድጋፍ ክነግር ይደሊ ብሽም እዚ እንቅስቃሴ ናይ እንዳይኣክል ኮታ ኣነ እናረኣኹ ስዑ ኢለ ክሓልፍ ስለዘይደለኹ እየ ግን ነዚ እውን ክሓልፍ ክንደይ ነገር ዘይሓለፈ ክሳብ እታ ኩነታት ግን ኩሉና ክንጥንክር ኣለና እዚ ቁልፍና ሸጥ ኣቢልና መረረ እንታይ ዳ ይሕለፍና እንታይ ከዘይንፈልጥ እዚ እውን ፓርትናቱ እሞ ነዚ እውን ከንሕልፎ ኢና ግን ምድግጋፍ ግን ኩሉ ግዜ ብሓደ ኣለና ምሳኹም ብጣዕሚ ይቐኒየለይ
Thank you, Mr. Gabra. Thank you to all of those, all of you who have spoken today. We appreciate every single one of you, with Mamher Takesta, Mr. Mustafa, Ambassador Gabra Christos, Pastor Mike Mcbride, Miss Janet Lee, Dr. Nagasi Mabratu, Mr. Mountain Plout, and Mr. Awet Iyasu, and now also Mr. Gabra. We appreciate everyone who is in attendance, who is continuing to fight for our people back home in Tigray, who are continuing to speak out, be vocal. Please keep fighting. We have a long road ahead of us. But as everyone shared today, Tigray will prevail. This too shall pass. We will continue to work together and continue to spread awareness and help our people back home. At this time, I would like us to I'm going to share a slideshow presentation that one of our TPN members, Dawit Tazella, put together. He also has his own video production company, Dawit Video Production. And this will allow us to just recognize a lot of the souls lost We still get word every day of different family members who have been killed or displaced in this war. There will continue to be, new names and faces, but we want to take this time to recognize those who we have lost today. At this time, we would like everyone to light your candles if you have them, if you have not already. And what we will do is have a moment of silence for all those lost. I'd like to invite Dr. Tsaga Gabriesus to speak prior to our moment of silence. We will honor a moment of silence for 60 seconds for almost 60 days of war. Dr. Tsaga?
سلام تعنا هبلي ألم زربا أي أبني النيرو جندب زمن دا أبيني إذا الشمعة زي توم زي قبقهم أب زي جيزيهم موتو استقتلوا دما كم تزبلوا كحلف مهانو نفلت إنا it's going to pass كم يجيرو كم زحلف كأ we have to work on it كنسر حلو لنا peace is an active word love is an active word انت أيوزا واتس أنا زي واتس أنا فليتنا we have to work hard تنسأل لنا كنتسئنا أتسبقنا إنا كنتسئ so this is for those that are lost and those that will be born in the future. Thank you, Mcbride.
سلام كما يمسيكم كما يوعيكم يسمع لودي
Yes.
Okay, good.
So what do we do now? We continue to fight. We continue to spread awareness. We continue to be the voice for our family members back home who are voiceless. Before we conclude our program and extinguish our lights, I would like to invite Mimi Tesfaye to speak on our call to action. What can we do? Mimi?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
These are definitely tough times for all of us. Not knowing the safety of your family. Not knowing the safety of your family, your friends, looking at these beautiful souls that we have lost. It's definitely heartbreaking, but it should be our call for action, right? I wrote some things, but I'm completely discombobulated after watching that. Yeah, so one thing that I really want to encourage people to do is talk to your network. Definitely reach out to your colleagues. You never know who you might get in contact with. We have some powerful people in our network, so please reach out to your people. We have tweet templates ready for us, thanks to our people on standwithtigray.com. If you are going to, if you're not able to write your own tweets, you can just use those templates and straight tweet them. Use our hashtags. I'm sorry, stop war on Tigray and Tigray genocide are those are trending mostly. So please tweet every day. Call your reps. It's been mentioned a whole lot of times. Our reps are supposed to be working for us, so we should definitely use them. We live in a privileged society where we can leverage our reps, so please join us in calling our reps. We have phone scripts, email templates that we can reach out. Please, if you would like to have those templates, email us at info@tegarupn.com. Stay in contact with us on our IG, Instagram, TegaruPN. Our Facebook, Tigray Communities Forum, is also a great resource. We have TPN phone call banking. It happens every week. We didn't have one last week because of this week because of we didn't have a lot of people sign up. Please sign up for those. We have scripts ready. We have phone numbers ready, so you can just call on, hop on, and join us as we make waves. Donate to refugees. Even the smallest amount helps. People forget that even $5, $2 helps. So donate as much as you can to our refugees. They're really in dire need of necessities. People are having babies every day without proper medications, and they don't have a lot of necessities. So please donate. Get involved in your local communities. We have great communities in Atlanta and Denver, and I'm sure in Seattle, but please, this is something that we are lacking, I believe, in a lot of cities. Get involved in your Tigrayan communities. If your Twitter, if your Twitter account is suspended, please make another one. It's okay, you can make multiple ones. Just continue to is working twice as hard. That's something that I've learned in this movement. You just gotta roll with the punches. It's okay if your Twitter account is suspended, just make another one. We have a lot of work ahead of us. Just join us, get involved as much as you can, and stay connected with us. Again, our email is info@tegarupn.com. Our Instagram is TegaruPN. Our Facebook account is Tigray Communities Forum, and continue to stand with us. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. As Mimi shared, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work ahead of us. If you feel, helpless like most of us do and don't know what to do, reach out to us. We will give you information, whether that is tweeting on Twitter, social media. If you need a script, if you need help calling your elected officials, we will help you. We need everyone's support. We need everyone's help. Every single one of us can make waves. And that is what we will continue to do over however many days until we can end this war. We've been doing it every single day since November 4th, and we will continue to do the work that's needed to bring awareness to what's going on and make sure we can stop this war on Tigray. With that, we will close out our program with our chairman, of the Tigray Communities Forum, Mr. Tegaru. And at that time, we will extinguish our lights, and I will play the slides as we close out for this program. Mr. Mulugeta? You have to unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, Mcbride. Thank you, our young intellectuals in the TPN for organizing, leading this program, which is very important. And I'd like to thank Mcbride, Pastor Mike, Mcbride, Mr. Mustafa Adam, Miss Janet Lee, Dr. Nagasi, Nabrahatu, Mr. Martin Plot, Vice Mayor Auti Yasu, and Mr. Gabriel for the remarkable support and prayers. We, the people of Tigray, found ourselves in an uncertain situation at this time. And thank you for the prayers. Thank you for the solidarity. Thank you for the fight and taking up the call for justice and for human rights. And I hope from today on, as you have been doing before, you continue to duplicate yourselves and support the people of Tigray. As mentioned by all of you speakers, this is an international war that needs international support, international campaign, and international response. And thank you for demanding for the withdrawal of Eritrean forces from Tigray. Thank you for demanding for the humanitarian access to the people of Tigray. And thank you for demanding of the international inquiry of war crimes to investigate in Tigray. By the way, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I thank the Ambassador Brahani Christos, who has been a lifetime servant of the people of Tigray. Thank you so much, sir. I will go in Tigrinya. መልእክተይኒ ህዝቢ ትግራይ እዩ ዘይግባእካ ዝረኸብካ ህዝብና 60,000 ገቢርካ ነፃነት ንብሔር ብሔረሰባት ኢትዮጵያ ናይ ብዙሓት ተረጊፆም ዝነበሩ ብሔራትን ብሔረሰባትን መሰል ዘኽበርካ ህዝቢ ሕዚ ዝግበር ዘሎ ንነፍስና ንኽንርኢ ሕዳሰ ትግራይ ንኽነመስር ዝመፀ ድሕሪ መስዋእቲ ድሕሪ ሞት ድሕሪ መቁሰልቲ ድሕሪ ዕንወት እንታትመፅእ ሕዳሰ ትግራይ ሓቢርና ንረጋግፀሉ ስለ ዝኾነ ከም ዝተባሃለ እዚውን ክሓልፍ እዩ ሕብረትና ንበርትዕ ኣብ ዓዲ ዘለኹም በርትዑ ኣብ ወፃኢ ዘለና እውን ክንብርትዕ ኢና ፅባሕ ንጎ እዚ ሓሊፉ ብዛዕበየ ስቡኣትና ዘኪርና ሰማዕታትና ዘኪርና ንቅድሚት ኣብ ሓዳሽ ትግራይ ምስራሕ ክንፅመድ ኢና በርትዑ ኤርትራውያን ኣሕዋትና ከምቲ ዝተባሃለ ፍርቂ ብዘለዉ ዝነበረ ቂም ኣብ ህዝብና ምብስባስ ኣብ ህዝብና ምብራስ ኣብ ንብረታትና ምዝራፍ ተፀሚዱ ኣሎ እዚ ግን ህዝቢ ትግራይ ምስ ሓው ዝኾነ ህዝቢ ኤርትራ ዘራኽቦን ዘተኣሳስሮን ዳኣምበር ዘቐይሙ ከም ዘይኮነ ክትርድኡ ይግባእ ካብ አንበጣ ወራር ጀሚሩ እስካብ ሕዚ ዘለኩም ድጋፍ ብሽም ተጋሩ ኮይነ ከመስግነኩም ይደሊ ሕዚ እውን ክንቅፅል ኢና ምክንያቱ ዕድልናን ናብራናን ሓደ ስለ ዝኾነ መጻኢና ሓደ እዩ Thank you very much everybody I'm done
Thank you, Mr. Mulugeta. At this time, let us extinguish our lights.
And I'm sorry to disturb you a little bit, but I am from Baitul, United States, Eritrea.
I have 1 second. 1 second, Mr.
Okay.
Daniel. I'm going to get with you shortly. One moment. This does conclude our program. We will extinguish our lights, so if we can blow those out now. Let's continue to think of those whose lives have been lost, those who are still being affected by the war back home. Let's continue to be a voice to the voiceless. Let's continue to fight every day. Thank you all so much for being here. This concludes our program. Mr. Daniel, I will give you a call afterwards, and we will close out with some music. Feel free to exit at any time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Can you hear me? Mama.